going to stretch my arms a bit while I'm on this chat. I'm sitting at my desk. I've got my on-air sign on. Let's put some lotion on because my hands feel dry. So welcome to this video. I've started a series for women and also for a specific type of man who I believe is a rare unicorn type of man. Are there men like this out here? Yes. However, this is running out. I am 52 years old. I've said it already in many other videos, so I don't need to hide it. So I've already heard from some of the other videos I've done from lots of misogynistic men. And instead of my normal ignore, yeet, and delete method, where when I would talk about how much I despise Trump and how, so this is a safe space for LGBTQ+, for women who are not MAGA or severely misogynistic, because there are plenty of women who are misogynistic out there. This is a safe space unless you're racist, homophobic, xenophobic, misogynistic. And because it's an open public forum, the reality is that a lot of people who are somehow those things are going to pop in. So the reason why this time I'm just going to let those comments stand is because of the fact that the things that I'm going to talk about here are so important. And it's not just in this country, which is I live in the United States. I live in the northeast coast of the United States. And even when you're a modern person, like, this is what I'm saying about a lot of men. There are a lot of, decent, good men out there who are, they're nice people. They have some kind of education. They're interesting to talk to. So this isn't about like hating men as a group, but I am here to talk about the reality of, hello, Lemire. I'm here to talk about, the truth of living as a woman in a very misogynistic society, and the job of wife, the endowment of husband, the high maintenance male ego, and the trap, the fantasy of love, the love lie, the idea that women are sold, the ideas that men are sold, and how it harms so many women. And it really also harms a lot of men. Although, unfortunately, because misogyny and the patriarchal society is set up to benefit men, and it's been like that for a long time, a lot of men deny that it exists, or they, just as bad, if not worse, they, they say that that's the way it's supposed to be. So this message, these videos that I'm doing, I was asking myself before I got on before I got on this video, I was thinking about what I was going to say. I've been researching a lot of things that I'm going to talk about. Some of that, thank you, Scott. Some of them are going to be looking over here reading. So if I'm not looking at the camera, that's going to be why, because I'm reading all of the notes that I compiled that I wanted to touch on these various points. And basically, this is a message to, well, you can just leave. I mean, these are my plants back here, so I don't know. And I've got my work stuff behind me, and I have my lights, and so you can go fuck off. Okay, even though, yeah, decluttering is important. I've got my desk back there, which you could probably see behind me. So, But there you go. There is a man, thank you. There's a man who thinks that it's his place, or if you're a woman, then you're just, whatever. There's somebody who thinks it's their place to tell me to go clean up. How does it look like a hoarder's room? I have curtains and I have some things behind me. There are plants behind me. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Okay, so the point of this video is to talk about the lie, the love lie, everything is overlapping because you guys are being rude and you're distracting me. So I wrote a bunch of stuff. I researched some stuff. I put together some stuff. So the fact of the matter is that a lot of men get really angry when a woman has the audacity, thank you, Scott, to say that, you know what, I don't need a man in my life. Maybe I work with you. Maybe I have fun chatting with you. Maybe it's nice to see people out and about. I don't feel like, we don't want men in the world. What I feel is that it's so important that more women learn that a lot of what you're told is really a lie that benefits men and it harms a lot of women. And maybe at some point I would meet, I shouldn't say find because I'm not looking for, I would meet someone who, is truly someone who is truly not a misogynistic man. I know that there's a lot of men out here who are not. I know that not all men fall into the category of what I'm going to discuss. But the fact is that, so even me, like, I don't like to watch violent stuff and I don't like to watch horror and stuff like that. And I have often just fallen into, like, I like to watch romantic shows or movies. Not that I watch a lot of stuff because I do tend to like to be watching like live podcasts that talk about current events, and I'm very into that. But when I do want to just chill, I usually tend to go for like kind of romantic things. But while it's fun and it's enjoyable, I've started to get to a point where I'm really seeing things from a clearer perspective. I haven't been dating for a long time by choice. I wanted to focus on my children. I wanted to focus on myself. I wanted to focus on work. I wanted to focus on healing from traumas. I wanted to just manifest my specific person, which is me. What you're saying is you want to be in love. No. Love. So I started to think about romance and, the way they sell romance in fairy tales and shows and movies and books. It's the story, the version of love that women are sold is completely a different version than what men are sold. So this message is really more for women, whether you're in your early 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I was thinking, or whatever, or older. I was thinking to myself before that, if I came across a message like this while I was still either very deeply trying to be in love or find a man or get into a relationship or be married, I was thinking more about like having a traditional for where I live, family with a wife, a husband, a wife, or you could say very misogynistically, a man and a wife. And then I moved around, I traveled, I lived in different places. I lived in Chicago, I lived in several places in California. I traveled a little bit for work. I lived in different towns in my area. I learned about different kinds of cultures. I met different types of people. I met people who were polyamorous. I've met people who were in the LGBTQ plus. I've met people who are trans. I've met people who are monogamous. I've met people who are cheaters. I've met people who are like good, decent people, So I've had a lot of experiences, which is what I'm drawing all of this information from. And I just feel that there's an important message that a lot of young women and whatever age woman, and maybe some men, really could hear, and it might help you. And that's what I'm saying. If I heard this message before I was really in a place to be open to it, then I probably wouldn't have, taken the advice. So I recognize that this message and this advice and these thoughts may only reach a few people, and those few people, hello Jimbo123, the message may only land on a few people, and it may only actually touch a few people. Now, if you're a man and you're truly not misogynistic and you really want to be a good and decent person, and if you happen to be one of those few guys who found a wife that loves you truly and you love her truly and you have a truly happy and equal marriage, and that's awesome. You could be somebody who could talk to other people and spread the message of love and joy. A lot of men truly are misogynistic, though, even though they don't realize it, because we're being raised with these ideals since birth, going back like a couple hundred years, that a lot of people just don't see it. So I'm going to start to read a little bit of the stuff. And so I was curious about cultures where women had rights. And so it says in ancient Egypt, women could inherit land, own property, sign contracts, go to court, conduct business in their own name. Laws did not treat them as dependents of men. In ancient Israelite law, it says Mosaic women could have private property, inherit what was bequeathed to them. And in Sparta, there were some matriarchal indigenous societies in North America where women had significant authority. And yet, in a lot of places, in Europe, large parts of Asia, other colonies, the law treated women as property, as dependents. They limited their rights, their property rights. They excluded them from political power and from inheriting money, homes, land. Women were historically blocked from inheriting and controlling property because the law and customs treated them like a dependent, like an extension of their male relatives. And it says that this changed in most countries between the 18 and late 1900s, but discriminatory inheritance land rules still exist. So marriage was considered basically, like, it's so crazy because so women were treated like they were some kind of burden, even though, that's what I'm saying, the job of wife and the endowment of husband, I'll just leave you losers, because you just show, like, sometimes I eat and delete people because it's annoying to see that. But then at the same time, it's like the quality or the lack of quality of men out here in the world. There's so many problems in the world. There's so many issues in general. There's so much inequality. Women are truly like oppressed. And even modern women in this modern world you know, now we're sold the idea of love marriage. Now we're told that, like, okay, now, you know, you're not somebody living 200 years ago where you had no rights, no ability to vote, no ability to get a job, no ability to inherit, no ability to, you know, be an independent person. There are, you know, if we go to the custom of when a woman gets married, she loses her name, she loses her personal identity that she's already built up. She's marrying a man and taking his last name, and that's rooted in the law and customs that treated wives as their husband's property. It erased their separate legal identity. And even today, with this whole SAVE Act, which is to try to disenfranchise so many voters, and they're trying to link your birth certificate name to what name you have now, knowing that hundreds and thousands of women change their name when they get married, and now it's going to be used against you if you were foolish enough to fall into the trap. So back in the Middle Ages, women were considered, their legal identity and property was absorbed into their husbands, and she effectively became like him and his. And shifting from your father's last name, surname, to your husband symbolizes this transfer that first you belong to the father and then you're handed off by the father to a husband, and that your personal identity is really, it just doesn't have any meaning, although of course it does. So if you're a MAGA fucking asshole, that I'm not just rambling, you stupid cunt bitch. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I won't call you that because I'm trying to learn how to stop using a woman's genitals as an insult. You're a dick. You're a piece of shit. You're a stupid idiot. You're a misogynistic turd. Who cares? I don't care what you fucking think. All of these dumb men out here, or stupid women who fall for the trap that you're going to leave your comments. You're going to leave your comments, and you are proving to anyone who watches this now live or on the replay that you are literally proving the point that most men genuinely fall for this idea that a wife, a woman, is there to serve them. So I'm talking a little bit about the history because, you know, there have been societies where women have had power or equal abilities, but it's been so deeply rooted into our society. And even though we're now in a modern society, there's still so much rooted in this old, crappy, misogynistic, harmful to women, beneficial to men way. And there's so many men out here. Yes, I do know that about the Spanish community, and I think that that's cool. Like, one of my best friends is Venezuelan, and she had her two last names, her mother and her father's. Although you do drop the mothers when you get married, so there's still some patriarchalness in there. So it says that in the US, nearly 80% of women in, you know, opposite gender, like who are marrying men, still take their husband's last name, even though they don't have to. A lot of women think, oh, I want to have the same name as my kid, when it literally doesn't matter. So in my case, I didn't get married. I didn't obviously change my name. And both of my children have my name and their father's name, although my last name is one of their middle names, but I wanted to make sure that my children had my name. My wife kept her name and added mine. The idea that a man is the head of the household, that he has more control or more power, and it's just so the reason I'm making this video is for women who don't want to fall into that trap, or men who truly want to learn how to not be a misogynistic patriarchal asshole. So the lie of the wife. So the story that women are sold about marriage and the story that men are sold about marriage are two very different stories. And unfortunately, when you get married, a lot of times the man's version of what he was told it was going to be clashes heavily with what the woman thought, although a lot of women are also sold this misogynistic view, which is, what is it? You could say it. A lot of you are saying stuff about it, like the woman's supposed to be the one who's cooking and cleaning and taking care of the children and organizing all of the holidays and the anniversaries and the birthdays and planning the menu for these occasions that she's going to be hosting, where she's cleaning every single thing in the house and doing all the food shopping and the clothes shopping and the gift shopping and the wrapping and putting everything where it's supposed to go and moving the elf on the shelf. Now, does it mean that no man ever does any of those things? Do you realize that not all men are misogynistic, and you also can't teach a man what it means to be a good man, just like man can't tell him? Right, blah, 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 blah. Are all men misogynistic? No, there's probably like 5% of them who aren't. There's a lot of men out there who think that they're not misogynistic, but that's because they believe in these genital roles, these very harmful to women, beneficial to men roles. You're in the 5%? Great. Those men in the 5% need to speak up and be a voice, an ally. So why is marriage a trap and a lie? Because men are sold the idea that the job of wife is, I'm going to marry this woman, which is basically a maid. You're going to marry a woman that's going to clean your house, cook your meals, take care of your children. Do I think a woman should not take care of her children? No. But I also think a man should be taking care of his children equally. A man should be cooking and cleaning and shopping and doing every single thing equally. If you are that man, if you're the guy that's doing that, then you would not be screaming in the comments, well, not all men, but what about me? You would be out there, you would acknowledge, because you would know that that is not the norm. If you're genuinely one of those guys out there who's doing everything equally, you would also care about women enough to know that most women are not treated that way and most men don't behave that way. And if you pretend that I'm making blanket statements and you act like I'm not saying there are some men who don't fall into that category, and you were one of those men, then you would have the awareness to acknowledge the truth of it. Just like there's some people who a lot of people refuse to acknowledge white privilege, because we live in a racist society that was built with systemic racism built into the structures of every single aspect of life. The medical field, the educational field, the work field, every part of life is built with systemic racism that harms people of color every single day. And when you benefit from that and you pretend that it's not real, you're part of the problem. And every single part of our society is built to benefit men over women. And when you pretend that that's not true and you act like you don't see it and you benefit from it, you're part of the problem. And so what I'm doing is I'm talking to women and maybe some men. Maybe you're in a miserable marriage and you're being taken advantage of, and you've been told your whole life by your family, by the school system, by your friends, by your husband, that this is your job. That, I mean, if you find it offensive, I don't care. You should be offended that there's so few men out there who are openly true allies of women and women's rights. And when you see how stupid a man is, like, do you seriously think, so you think that just because you have a penis that you can do the plumbing, and just because you have a vagina that you can't? And you think that you think that a woman needs to have a man in her house all the time just because occasionally she might need to call a plumber? Those are the desperate, pathetic, ridiculous, transparent whining of the high maintenance male ego who hates for it to be pointed out to women and themselves that marriage is a trap. The job of wife, you are expected to do all of this stuff for a man, and then he claims that because if you happen to be a plumber and you know how to do plumbing, okay, great, so you can fix the pipes. Most likely, most of these men out here are not plumbers, so you have to call a plumber. So a woman can't pick up the phone and call a plumber? Or just because I might need a plumber or a mechanic, I have to have a grown-ass man who's completely incapable of taking care of himself, and worse yet, thinks it's my job to do it because I have a vagina? The audacity. You are so stupid. You are so pathetic. And that's the thing, that why I'm making a video like this is because I'm trying to help women out there, whether you're in your early 20s and you're trying to date and you really want to get married. I'm telling you, it's a trap. It's a trap to get you to be their maid. Men are told that a woman, a good woman, a high quality woman, she can cook, she can clean, she can fuck like she's a good mommy, and bapa da boop. And then when it's time to have babies, there are not systems in place to protect you, to protect your job, to protect your career. There's not systems in place that make it equal. There's systems in place that harm you. There's systems in place that try to make you think that just because a man does XYZ over here, that absolves him from doing all of the housework. And men are so quick to jump in and try to tell you that great qualities of a woman is basically being a maid, and that a great quality man is somebody who expects you to be his maid. And I'm telling you that that's a lie. I'm telling you that you're being sold a pile of rocks, and you're told that, there you go, well, I don't do housework because you don't do yard work. I want my lady to a woman, not a trophy. I don't know what that means. So they make these grandiose blanket statements while claiming that that's what I'm doing. And it's like, so no women do yard work? What are you even talking about? All men do? No, you're just making a bullshit excuse to try to justify your misogynistic expectation of women. Okay? Oh, right, exactly. And there goes the next one. Oh, I'm obviously miserable because I'm old and I've chosen to be single. I started to choose to be single first for my own priorities. I had 2 young children to raise. I wanted to work and earn a living. And I wanted to heal from my very traumatic relationship that I had had with my baby's daddies for 8 years. My baby's dad, not daddies. There's a lot of misogynistic women out there. A lot of women are hardcore misogynistics who also who drank the Kool-Aid that it's your job to cook and clean and do all this stuff, and we do it better, and that's our job, and we're just naturally built that way, and that's what I want. And good for you, go have it. There's a million misogynistic men out there for you million misogynistic women, and you're right, that's the 1950s way, but it's not just the 50s. It's well, good for you. So, of course, see, there you go. I sound like I hate men. That's another very misogynistic thing to say, which has been a theme. in this series of videos that I've been doing, where I've been talking to women specifically, or, you know, the few men out there who really truly want to be a good partner. And so marriage is sold to women as this romantic kind of like, you're going to be protected and you're going to be safe, and this man is going to love you. He's going to carry you over the threshold, and then you're going to be his maid. Like, I don't get it. Like, why? You know, and again, if you're a woman who's met a man and he's the best and you love him, and he don't encourage women to be single. Fuck all the way off, bitch. Misery loves company. What advice can you give if you're not happy? There you go. So why are you saying I'm not happy? Who the fuck told you I'm not happy? What I'm not happy with is the idea that, so because I've been single for a long time, yes, 95% of men are misogynistic. And if I were to go off of, I do have a negative view of men, because men are raised to be misogynistic assholes who think that because they have a penis and women have vaginas, that those vaginas, and the fact that we get pregnant and we give birth and we are actually the powerful ones, that it's our job to do all of this stuff, which is all the hard work that they don't want to do. And when you're a misogynistic man, you can't fathom that that's a misogynistic way of trying to force women to exist. You just see it as that's how it's supposed to be because it benefits you. You gain from it. You gain financial freedom, you gain social freedom, you gain freedom in how your career is. You have actual physical freedom to come and go as you please. There are so many men who, when they finally, like if they have a child and it doesn't work out and they leave, they just walk away from the kids. How many women are in the system being forced to pay child support because they otherwise wouldn't, compared to the men who have to be forced to pay child support because they've abandoned their children and they don't want to help them. They don't want to do anything. Do you know how small the amount of child support is that men are actually forced to pay? It's like pennies. Women are the ones who are expected to do so much stuff that is not easy work. And then they'll say things like, well, I mow the lawn and I get an oil change. Okay, so for 3 or 4 times out of the year, you're doing something that a woman can do. I get oil changes. If I need to shovel, I can shovel. I can mow the lawn. I can do gardening. These are all my plants that I love and that I'm taking care of. I'm doing indoor gardening because outside it's not really very friendly for gardening. And men get so mad when you tell other women that the option to not get married is a really real good one. And I mean, you really don't need to mow. Well, where I live, summer only lasts like 2.5 months. And you don't need to mow it every day. Even if you mow it every other week, okay, 6 times a year. Wow. Good for them. Glad they're getting child support. And there you go. There's another example of because you saw something on the internets, what? So what? So because you saw some people on the internet bragging about child support, how does that I do actually shovel because I have to shovel. Again, like look at how and if that 26 times is about mowing the lawn, then you're literally doing that to avoid doing any other work. And you're pretending that you need to mow the lawn that much so you can be outside and pretending like you're doing work when you're really not. So, again, you're just trying to make excuses for the fact that we live in a culture where men can walk away from their children a lot easier than women. Now, does that mean that a woman never walks away from her children? No. In fact, my own biological mother did that to me. She put my sister and I in foster care and lied and said that our father was dead. My biological mother was a very abusive woman. So I certainly know that women can be abusive. Actually, my biological mother lied to a guy and said he was my father. And my father also knew he was my father. And so she was getting child support from 2 women. So does it ever happen? It does. But does that change the fact that this is a misogynistic society? No. So when my dad got custody of me and the woman that he had married when I was 3, and they became my parents and they raised me, and that woman is a Black woman. She's Haitian. She's an American citizen. French was her first language, and Creole, and she speaks English and Spanish, and she's amazing and beautiful. And in that family, my dad was an average kind of misogynistic guy. He loved my mom and everything, but yet not only did she do all the cooking and the cleaning and the gifts and the shopping and everything, the mowing of the lawn, the shoveling of the snow, and all of these things that you guys seem to think women are not capable of. My 5'3" mother, where my 6'4" dad would sit and not do stuff. And she also was the one who had 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, side job, always paying for everything. So I happened to be raised. How did you reach this conclusion? Because I grew up in a very fucking misogynistic society. A society that's so misogynistic that they would elect a white pedophile rapist who was a felon over a Black woman who was one of the most qualified presidential candidates who's ever run, because they're so misogynistic and racist that you would vote for and love and to this day defend, and I bet you're going to see some comments popping up defending this fucking white man who's a pedophile, a rapist, a liar, a thief, a horrible, despicable, evil, disgusting, misogynistic, xenophobic piece of shit. And if you think that this is only about housework, you are so stupid and dumb, and you're showing that by your comments. Because just because there's a few men out there who may do equal housework does not erase the fact that the majority of women out here have this expectation put on them that that is what they were going to do. The guy that I was with for 8 years, one of the things I loved about him so much, fuck off and drop dead, you piece of scum shit. Don't you dare have the audacity to get on my fucking live and tell me how to speak. If you don't like it, then you can fuck off. All of you men are showing other women what pieces of shit you are. Now, there's still a lot of women out there who are totally enchanted by men, who desperately want to be married, who will cook and clean and do all that stuff for you because that's what they were taught to do, and they would rather do that than be alone. But there's so many more of us now who have realized being married to a man is a trap. Now, does it mean that same-sex marriages don't have problems and same-sex marriages, they don't have inequality or whatever? I'm sure they do, but I'm really talking about men and women, and that men are taught, like women, you need to realize that men out here are being taught from birth that your job as a woman is to serve them, to be subservient to them. The idea of a man, the view here, vows, like wedding vows, position the husband as the head of the household and a wife as a submissive, and that she's supposed to honor and obey him. And these men out here are believing in this shit. That is why I'm highly suggesting that you learn about your other options and that you seriously consider whether this traditional idea of marriage is that you are there to serve your man, that you're going to be cooking and cleaning for him every night, that you're going to be shopping for his clothes, you're going to be shopping for his food, you're going to be picking up his crusty underwear, you're going to be having to host his family if he has any that he's, reasonably close to. That your needs, your hobbies, your desires are most of the time not going to be given the same value, and that a lot of time men are going to trick you. So like I said, the guy that I was with when we were first dating, he seemed like he really believed, he wasn't misogynistic, and I thought that this is an unusual guy who believes that women are equal, and he's got a sister and a mom and he loves them. But the fact is that he was also raised with that same kind of, his mom did all the housework and the childcare and everything, and the dad. You see, you're only proving what a piece of shit you are. So normally I would be deleting you guys, but these scumbag comments, these are the evidence that this is what's out there. This is what's out there for you to pick from. And a lot of times men will pretend. They will pretend that they're not misogynistic. They will pretend that they believe in equality. I'm going to delete you because you're a rapist. You see, they're proving in their comments. I was contemplating, should I do this video? Did I want to make a video like where I just like recorded like a lot of the videos that I used to do, and I have a video that I'm going to share, but maybe in a few days. I think I shared like a 6-minute short, like an excerpt of that video. It's on my the long form page. So again, if you're one of the very few men who were raised right, then speak up. Then instead of trying to disprove that this is a misogynistic society, you would be speaking up for women. You would speak out. You would see these comments. Look at all these misogynistic, rude, disgusting, predator, abuser comments. You could see them, and then you could say, hey, that's bad, and look at that, Right, I must do crack or drugs if I think that women have a right to not get married, that you can still have children, and you don't have to get married, and you don't have to take, you see, you think it's disrespectful to point out that this is a misogynistic society where women are being forced to be like indentured slaves to these men who don't love them, who don't respect them, or who say, I love you, but it doesn't translate into, and I'm going to show up and do all this hard work side by side with you because that's what, love means. Love means actually not just having sexual and romantic feelings for someone, but actually, like helping do the things that, like, even the word helping, picking up after yourself, doing your own dishes, cooking and cleaning, taking care of your children is not helping. It's fucking doing your responsibility. But far too many of you misogynistic pricks do think it's her job to do it, and if you do it, you're helping her. Okay, bitch, slavery still exists, so fuck you, you stupid bitch. I was also, so in India, it's now illegal. Let me see if it's in all of India to have a dowry. So a dowry is a very misogynistic thing, and they sold it as, yes, it's illegal in many countries, and most notably in India since 1961. Nepal and Bangladesh, where it's criminalized. The Dowry Prohibition Act of 1961 makes both giving and taking a dowry, any property or value security given in connection with marriage, as a punishable offense. And why? Because, first of all, a dowry makes it seem like a woman is a burden, and then she gets abused, and killed. And you see, you guys, I'm leaving a lot of these comments because you are advertising to all these women who will hopefully watch this video. They're just showing you what it still happens under the table. I believe it. So a lot of women, you know, some women, they're into men. I mean, hey, technically I'm straight. I have tried to date a woman. Well, that's not really true. When I was like a teenager, me and my best friend were kind of in love, and you know, mostly men trying to defend themselves. I mean, mostly, I wouldn't say they're trying to defend themselves. I would say it's mostly men just being abusive, you know. So, you know, being abusive and insulting. So the fact is, but you know, once this video, well, the video is out, that's what I was saying. I was thinking, like, should I pre-record it like I did the other one where I can put cute captions and stuff? But I just really wanted to just get on and make the video, and then it's out there. And so the fact is that life with a man can be a real burden. India is terrible for women overall, but things are definitely getting better. In the cities, single women are living their lives as freely pursuing their careers and hobbies. Yeah. So, you know, for a lot of women, you start your career, you get your education, and then when it's time to get married, so I don't know, I've always wondered about like the whole like take a guy's name. It just seems so sexist and kind of like a bad idea. And I always felt like I don't want to do that. Like, I love my name. It means a lot to me. It's a very cool name. It has a very cool meaning. It's very unique. And I just didn't feel like it would make sense for me to take some dude's name. It is true, my name came from my dad, and that name came from his dad, but it still was my name that I had since birth. Of course, it's negative. It's negative to tell women that you don't have to get married, and you don't need to live with a man to be happy. You don't need to live with a man to be a mom. You don't need to have to. Well, thank you, Walking Tall 420. You don't have to be entrapped in this enslavement that is sold to you as romance. Being a wife is actually a job. And for many women, it's a job that they really didn't truly signed up for. So the happily ever after story that you're sold, the magical proposal, this dreamy wedding, and then the life of being a deeply cherished and emotionally understood. Wedding is the life's pinnacle. Everything is built around the whole like proposal and the wedding. And then, you know, there's like the baby shower and stuff like that. But the reality that women are taught that marriage is a protection emotionally, financially, and physically, to feel chosen. It is sad. I agree. It's sad that so many women are sold this lie. But then at the same time, men are sold that a wife is a built-in maid. That wife implies someone who's going to keep the house clean, do the laundry, manage the dishes, take care of all of the things without him needing to plan or to notice. It's a free household manager. Men are taught that their wives will remember their appointments, plan their meals, organize the children's lives, manage holidays, keep track of everything by default. A default caregiver. The wife is cast as a nurse, as a therapist, as an emotional regulator, soothing his stress, managing your moods, caring for you when you're sick, making sure that you're ejaculating whenever you want. Someone you get to have sex with, even though you're doing nothing for them. Someone who's going to cook and schedule, plan the groceries, cook and coordinate. On-call sex partner. The male fantasy frequently involves, excuse me, regular sex that meets your desires with a little focus on her pleasure, consent, or the fact that she's exhausted from being your fucking maid. Men are told that a good woman is a good status symbol. She's going to make them look successful, put together, and she will also, through her own appearance, always be put together. Yeah, it sounds great, doesn't it? She's going to be a support staff for your own dreams. This implicit deal says that you get to pursue your career and your personal ambition while she adjusts her life completely to support those. She would cheat on you, but she doesn't have time because she's so busy being your maid and your slave and your caregiver and your child care. Then the lies that the women are told is that it's about love, not labor. You're told that a good woman, a good mother, does this not because it's her job, not because she's going to get paid for it, but this enormous ongoing domestic workload, emotional and mental labor, this physical labor, it's just part of who you're supposed to be as a woman. That's how you're supposed to be built. You haven't seen me do chores. You could go back. I did used to do chores online. I was doing some ASMR chores videos, but it took a lot of time and it kind of like, it only can go so far. But that's a very stupid comment otherwise. It just shows that, what the hell are you saying? So the thing I'm trying to tell you, women, is that are you going to have to cook and clean and wash and fold and plan and do all these things, whether you're single or not, or whether you have children or not? Yes, you will. But I also know, which you can probably figure out as well, that a grown man generates, well, first of all, he eats a lot. His clothes are bigger. That makes a lot of laundry. He poops, he pees, he showers, maybe he's going to trim his beard. There's hair everywhere. He makes garbage and recycling, and he sneezes and all the stuff. And that's like a whole grown ass human being who's not contributing. Like, men out here are so pleased to advertise the fact that you are incapable of taking care of your own basic needs. And you think that's a flex. You think that there's something desirable about a grown ass man who needs a woman to be his mommy, to take care of your basic needs because you weren't raised right and told the truth that every human being eats, shits, sleeps, wears clothes, does all the things, and it generates a lot of chores, and you need to learn how to be a self-sufficient person who is not out here creating a million fucking chores for somebody else. Mary, I can't tell if you're being mean to people or me. And truly non-misogynistic men would love this message because they would be like, I am already doing all that stuff. You are right. It's shameful and embarrassing to be a grown ass man and expect some other person to do your basic needs for you. You love women so much. That's good. Nice to see you. It's like one step away from expecting your wife to fucking wipe your ass like you were still a baby. And many of you probably need her to, because how many men out here have shit stains because you don't know how to wipe your own ass? There is a woman on the platforms. I can't remember her name right now. She's so funny. Her husband's name is Rudy, and she's like she does like waxing, and she's talked about how so many men have poop butt. They literally have ass crack shit. They are you see how insulting people are? You're making wild assumptions, and just like literally, this is what I'm saying. If you are not the kind of man that I'm talking about, then why would you be on here insulting my looks, acting as if having a cat is some kind of negative, which I don't have a cat, but like having a cat is some kind of stereotypical negative. It's so stupid. Guess what? It's misogynistic. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're so obsessed with the idea that a single woman must have a cat, and you're saying all these stupid comments about that when I don't have cats. But it's all only showing what a misogynistic turd you are. You're such a piece of shit. You're a scumbag. And probably a fucking menace to whatever woman had the misfortune of dating you. Yeah, look at my house. It's fucking beautiful. I have beautiful curtains. I have the maps. I have some paintings, and I have some plants. So go suck a fucking egg, you piece of shit. Oh, you think I'm beautiful? Thank you. Like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. My house is beautiful and decorated the way I like it. So go fuck yourself. It's probably the only person who would. So when women fall for this trap of marriage, you see how evil these pieces of shit are? Do you see how nasty? I like your room. It's so pretty. Thank you. I think it's so pretty too. I don't have a husband. I guess you haven't fucking caught on to the point of the video, which is to tell, if you think that having a map is gross, then you're gross. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. There are so many pieces of shit out there. who expect you to constantly to carry the bulk of the physical chores, the mental load, the emotional work that turns everyday life into a never-ending shift with no clock out time, no pay, and instead of fucking getting appreciated, which again, it's like, what do you want, a pat on the back? You want a pat on the back because you spend all day slaving away for this fucking unappreciative guy who literally expects that that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to shrink your identity. You're supposed to be a good wife and a good mother. Swallow your own ambitions. Minimize your friendships and rest and your own creativity, and erode your own fucking sense of self. Every time you ask me to stop cursing, I'm going to curse more, you fucking dumbass. She's had a bad guy and now she thinks all guys are bad and complains. I can tell you're lazy as fuck. Preach, sis, preach. You know? I'm lazy as fuck because I do all my own chores, because I do all my own cooking and cleaning and food shopping, and take my car to the mechanic, and I shovel, and I do all the things that one would do, but I just don't want to do it for you. Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what a misogynistic man would say. You're lazy because you don't want to be my maid, right? Your house is dirty because you have some things on the wall, because I have a bunch of plants. Does it matter what gender or what genitals? The whole point is, oh, you take your car to a man. So therefore I have to have a fucking grown man living in my house that I have to slave away for, just because the mechanic I took you to is a man? How does that make sense, you fucking idiot? Most men are not mechanics. So all of the women who are living with men who are not mechanics still have to take their car to a mechanic who, again, I'm sure there's a lot of women out there who are mechanics if that's what they want to do. But it's probably harder to be a mechanic as a woman, not because she's a woman, but because men are so misogynistic and disgusting that there's probably a lot of abuse and harassment and just general, like, I don't want to be involved in a job where I'm going to constantly get harassed because it's heavily, flooded by men. So, like, good for you. If you can change your oil, that does not make you husband material. So women, I'm just telling you that you're mechanically, exactly. There's so many women out there who are carpenters, mechanics, architects, engineers, all the things that men like to claim it's their job, or that the fact that maybe the majority of people who do that happen to be men, they think that that's proof that you should marry them. And most of the jobs that are done mostly by men are done mostly by men because of misogynistic rules and laws that kept women out of those careers. Not because men are inherently better or stronger or smarter, because a lot of times they're not. Thank you, Hale. Nice B. There you go. More misogynistic stuff. Anyone can learn anything they want. Exactly. And, well, if a woman doesn't want to do the job, then they don't need to do the job. And to say that men don't keep women from jobs, there you go. You're a liar. You're denying the reality of the society, and you you expect that you can just gaslight women and they're just going to believe you. So, you know, I've known so many strong women and so many weak men that, again, all of these stereotypical tropes is that all you guys are doing is proving the point that a lot of these men out here are misogynistic. They think that they're better than women. They think that being physically stronger, if you were physically stronger, somehow makes you better or more important or more special, or that just because, thank you, Hale, just because if they were stronger, that somehow means they don't have to do their fair share of housework. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. There's no sense to it. And, you know, they don't really care about trying to make sense because they just want to convince. It's all about controlling women. That's right. They just want to convince women that that's what you're supposed to do. She's just mad that nobody wants her. Right. I'm actively telling women that you can have a very happy and fulfilling and satisfying life because nobody wants me. Or actually, maybe the truth is that I have turned down every invite from a man because I'm not interested in the lie that you guys are trying to sell. So there's plenty of men in my life that I care about, that I love, that I enjoy their company. And if you do all the cleaning, then that's awesome. That's awesome. And if that was true, you would know that you're a rare find. And you would be talking to the men in the comments who are saying all the misogynistic stuff that they're saying. And you would say, be the right kind of man, show up and do what you're supposed to, and encourage men to be like that instead of being hateful. So, ladies, and the few good men that are out there, thank you for being you. I think I covered a lot. I have another video that I did yesterday. I talked about like a similar topic, but like from a different aspect. You know, I just think that it's really important for women. You're with me, Kat. Thank you. I think it's really important for women to know that you really don't have to be hooked up to a man who is going to drain you of your life and your energy, who's going to actually expect you to wait on him hand and foot, to make you feel like you're bad or you're less than when you don't do it. And he's going to have the freedom to come and go. He's going to hang out with his friends and do his hobbies, and you're going to be run ragged. Now, is it true for every man in every marriage? No. And maybe you'll be lucky and you'll find one of those precious, precious unicorns who are just so different than the guys in the comments, the guys on dating apps, the guys at the supermarket, the guys out and about. It's tough to meet a guy who's not misogynistic when you're growing up in a misogynistic society, and where everywhere you go, these roles are being sold to men as what they're supposed to do. And that men like this, like all you guys are doing is proving my point. You know, And men like this out here, like this is just a very small sample of the kind of men that are out here. And a lot of you women are so beautiful. You're so smart. You're so educated. You're so successful and ambitious. And I just encourage you to recognize that you could probably go a lot farther and be a lot happier in life if you don't get saddled down with the burden of a man. And that these kind of guys in the comments are, unfortunately, that some of them might be cute and some of them might actually, you know, talk a good talk. And then they get you trapped in that fucking marriage trap, in the wife job. And that's what I'm sharing. I'm sharing that being a wife in this society is truly, it's a job. It's an unpaid job. And there are other options. There are other options for you. And if you're not that kind of a guy, then show up in the comments expressing how you recognize that this is true. Because if you're truly not that kind of guy, then there's no way that you wouldn't see misogyny everywhere. You would see it. And you would be able to comment on it. And you would be one of those few men who are truly allies and not further abusers. And people who say stuff like that. And people who, being a husband is not a job. Being a husband is an endowment. Being a husband is a prize where you've just won a living maid. Now, are there women out there who end up not falling for the trap? Are there some women who are super messy? Sure. But the majority, I'm not talking about the outliers. I'm not talking about the ones who are, you know, the 20%. I'm talking about most women in our society will end up doing that work. Even if the house isn't super tidy all the time, it's still a lot of work. You can actually have a very messy house and still be constantly cleaning. Because when you have another grown-ass person there who's not cleaning, it's like that's a lot of work. And they don't want to do it. They say things like, do my dishes. So I was hopeful that when I would get on here and I was talking about this, that there would be a few good men who would say, I support women, and I think that women deserve equal pay, and that doing housework is really hard, and it's a lot of work, and it's grueling, and it's thankless, and nobody wants to do it. But I 100% take care of all my business, because no woman should feel obligated that she should have to take care of a grown man like he was her baby. I like you a lot and support. Thank you. Fuck MAGA. You see? There you go. There's some more misogynistic, sexist comments. You think that? Okay. Cam, Mo. Sounded like you were saying a bunch of other misogynistic shit before. Women get paid about 70 cents to the dollar to a man. Women lose out when they get pregnant. I work for myself. I'm an entrepreneur and I am my own boss. So, unfortunately, a lot of women are going to, you know, still get hurt because Like I said, if I had heard this message a few years ago, I wouldn't, I mean, well, this is what I'm saying. Maybe I would have heard it. Maybe I would have heeded the message, because if I had had a woman explain to me the reality of marriage, and you really break it down and you really think about the truth about it, that when a system is built for your, when a system is built for the man's benefit, but for your harm, but it's sold to you as this romantic fantasy. This is the point that I'm trying to get at. Women are sold this fantasy that a man is going to, you know, I don't know, that it's like romantic and loving and he's going to take her out on dates and all this stuff. But then the reality is that family and children and like the regular life, you're just going to be a slave, a maid and a slave. And I mean, a teenager would have a map of the world. That's cool. That'd be a pretty cool teenager. And I've got my beautiful pineapple curtain, and this is a peacock curtain. And then I have my festive lights because it makes me happy. And I have some of my children's paintings because I support their artwork. And I have a lot of cactus and succulents. So that's actually another reason why when you live by yourself, you get to decorate your house the way you want to. Like, who gives a fuck what somebody else thinks? Yeah, I love the kids' paintings up there. So I dust the ceilings and I clean up. So, you see what a loser you are? Because I don't have a cat, so you're just being an asshole. I don't care what you think about my decorating because it's not for you, it's for me. And then I have my on-air sign, and I have my pictures of my dad and my children. So that's another really good reason not to get married, because then you have this fucking guy who, first of all, he expects you to be his maid and his slave and a sex slave and a child caregiver. And then he thinks he can tell you how to decorate. So there's so much freedom in being an independent woman and not falling into the trap of these lies that we're told, that, like, you know, you're told this idea like dating should be all this romance, and somehow in the end the ultimate goal is marriage, which is a trap. And you don't have to live with a misogynistic man who thinks that he can control you and that you have to build your life around him and give a fuck about his opinion, which is rude and misogynistic anyway. And you probably have a beer gut, and you probably have shit in your ass crack, and you're probably a loser. So that's the beauty of being single, is that you do not have to consider these low life people's opinions. And it's just so so freeing. It's so freeing when all of your time is spent on either, you know, your own work, your own growth, your interests, your hobbies, your children, your friends, your family, and you don't have to care about men who think that calling you names and, you know, like, I'm actually not saying anything threatening to any of these people that would justify them trying to tear down my looks. You don't like my decorating, so you think it's appropriate to, like, call me names or to say bad things about me. Like, this is the lack of quality of men that are out there. No, I agree with you, Jim, and thank you. You know, you're one of the few nice guys out there, and You know, I don't know how you live your life, but um you're right. Central. These are probably just children, although unfortunately a lot of men out there are also just terrible. And you know, men have this expectation that you're supposed to look a certain way. I mean, have you guys ever seen those videos where like men make these disgusting comments online, similar to the ones they're making about me? They make these comments online about a woman's looks, and then someone like shows their pictures, and they're not attractive. Yeah, don't date men. That's the point. They're that the idea, like, and I get it, you know, people are driven to be together. Most people want to couple up. Most people want to have a partner, and that's understandable, you know. And that's why I said that this video is for a very small group of people, because the majority of people um are going to want to have a partner. And so they're, you know, this wouldn't work for you. But what I'm just trying to share is that for some women, you know, maybe you're not super driven where you feel like you have to get married, or you know, you want to have a family, or you want, like, I have a family, it just doesn't happen to have a man in it. I've got my 2 children and me, and we're family. And you know, they do have their father in their life, and they see him, and actually they're with him right now, and they'll be home in a little while. And I'm very grateful that he wants to be a part of their lives, and he's a good man. He's not you know, men who think that rating women with a number, what do you think that makes you? What, I don't, do you think that makes you special or cute? Do you think that that makes you look attractive? Yeah, you would think it's negative to say that a woman could be happy and fulfilled in her life without a man. Because what I'm saying is that when you don't have a man in your life bogging you down with all his bullshit, you can go out with your friends more. You could invest in your own education more. You could work more. You could work out if you want to. You could paint or dance or just fucking relax because you've already worked so hard. And you don't have to slave away for some fucking guy, or hope for his approval, or hope that he would touch you in a non-sexual way and give you some just safe affection. And you know, how many women are so unsatisfied sexually in their relationships because the man doesn't think about your needs. He doesn't know about your body. He doesn't actually care about getting to know your body in a real way. You are basically just a vessel in his mind, a physical thing he can masturbate into. And so, you know, you're going to be unfulfilled and unhappy. If I was a lesbian, I would absolutely love being a lesbian. I have sometimes wished that I was gay because it's just so irritating, the fact that I'm attracted to men. Like, sexually, you know, unfortunately, I do find some men can be very attractive, but unfortunately, the most men out there are not good men. And like I said, my ex, you know, he's a good man in the sense that, like, he's a decent person. He works hard, and well, I don't know about working hard, but you know, he works. But you know, he was also very misogynistic, and that was my experience with him. And but it's kind of like I don't know if it's the worst kind of misogyny, but like many of these people on these comments, they don't know that they're misogynistic, like, they don't see it, so they just, like, think that that's just the way it's supposed to be, which is very misogynistic. How would you know who's attracted to me? How would you know how often I get, um, hit on, or whatever you would say? How do you know how often a man approaches me? You don't. You have no idea, because you don't know what the fuck you're saying. And the fact that a woman would have the audacity to tell other women, hey, you could be single and it's a super happy lifestyle, or say to men, hey, a lot of women out here are recognizing that they could be single and they're opting for that option because it's financially freeing. It's the freedom to not have to be worrying about taking care of a grown ass fucking incapable man. You're attracted, thank you. There's just so much joy to be had in life, and we don't get told about this aspect of life. All of the movies and stuff out there about relationships, they tell you that, like, somehow, being in a relationship is the ultimate goal. And of course, there are some movies about being single, and I know that that's true, but the majority of them are truly, again, you're making a lot of assumptions. You can't get alimony if you were never married, you fucking idiot. So, it's unfortunate that men are so quick to judge you negatively. And instead of hearing a woman saying, you know what, being single is a really happy option for a lot of women, instead of them saying, that's so true, because there's not enough good men, and then trying to rise up and be a good man, unfortunately, they just show what assholes they are. I pay for it, you stupid fuck. Well, if you're a woman, then you're a really awful woman. And that's just a damn shame. So, and again, it's like, men, like, you think that because somebody got paid to do a job, that means that you have to be in a relationship. It's like, there's life where people work, and there's tasks and jobs that people do, and then there's like your romantic life. And did I say that we should eradicate people with penises off the face of the earth, or that there's no use for them? No. I said you don't have to be in a romantic relationship to be happy and fulfilled as a woman. And that the lie of marriage, the job of wife, is often sold not as the reality that it is. And that if you're modern and you're independent and you don't desperately need a man, there is a lifestyle option for you where you could be so free and so happy and so fulfilled and financially independent and emotionally. There will be people in your life. You have family, you have friends. You could even, if you want to date and stuff like that, please do it. I would block the trolls, but it will distract me from what I'm talking about, and it will take away the time. Again, the burden of men. I could clean up all the shit comments in here, the insulting ones, the rude ones, the ones that are disparaging me as a person, the men that are trying to say that nobody wants me. The fact that I've decided as a grown up who's chosen to be single, first because I had 2 young children, and I was working, and I was busy, and I was healing, and I've come to the realization over these years that truly my life is, there's like a big wide path of possibilities for me when I stopped focusing on, like, thinking about finding a man or being with a man, dating a man, a relationship with a man, living with a man, marriage with a man. There's so many opportunities out there. There's so many things that you can do. There's so many choices that you can make. Actually, I took down the ugly blinds that I didn't like, and I put up these curtains because I like this. And men are just afraid of empowered women who don't need them, who are not desperate for their attention, who don't need their little dick. And even if you have a big dick, who fucking cares? You think your dick is a magic wand, and it ain't. You think that your nasty, hairy crack is some kind of something that we should be kissing, and we don't want to. Men are trained to believe that somehow they are the powerful, superior, better, stronger, smarter head of everything, and yuck. There's so few good men out there. A few of you guys follow me. I'm so happy and so grateful to you. I love you guys when you're on here and when you comment. And you know, I'll tell you ladies that life is hard. Getting up and working and raising kids and doing all this stuff, it's hard. That's why so many men don't want to do it. That's why so many men expect you to do it, because they don't want to do it. And then they're going to make you feel bad about everything. Again, if you found a good man, I'm so happy for you. There's so many good women out there. There's some good men out there too. You're wonderful. You're funny. You're great to be around. And you guys are the special men in this world. And we need more of men like you. We need more men like you to raise more men like you. We need more men like you to talk to the friends and the coworkers that you have in your life. You see these comments. You see how easy men are triggered into saying misogynistic stuff. And yeah, for the one day a week that my kids are with their dad, I have some free time. And that's exactly like I was saying yesterday. Some guy made a comment about it takes a man and a woman to make a baby. Making those things equivalent. And of course, a man would say, because the father of your children has your kids for one afternoon, he's doing everything. And that's the kind of society that we live in that says when a man is with his kids, he's sacrificing. And when a woman is with her kids, that's just the way it's supposed to be. I'm not divorced, you moron. I never got married, thank God. So, those are my thoughts for the afternoon. Thank you for joining. I probably will do some more videos in this series. And thank you for all the trolls and the misogynistic men who commented you help boost the engagement and get my video out to more women. And again, my invitation stands for any men who truly are allies to women and you want the best in life for your sisters, your mothers, your grandmothers, your friends, your potential partners, your coworkers, then speak up. Stand up. Speak up and say,